everybody. Welcome back for your guided notes. Chapter 8, Catering and Meeting Room Sales. Oh boy, that was my world. I was a director of catering. As you know, that's how I met the chef and married him. Get your way much better when you marry them. Anyway, let's go ahead and move into our guided notes. And if you're ready, I am. So here we are. Catering and Meeting Room Sales, page 293 of your textbook. Successful banquets can contribute greatly to overall profitability, right? So you have this meeting space, and it's really wonderful when you can host large dinners and luncheons and have coffee breaks. All this adds to the bottom line for hotels' revenue. The profit margin on sales for banquets often reaches 35%. That's if you got a really good chef, as opposed to 15% profit margin for just eating in the restaurant. Well, why is that? Think about it. We're all serving the same meal, right? At the same time, you know how much you're going to order. You have, so much food that's available. There's very little waste. Chefs love banquet events. Well, sometimes. Why? Well, the why of it, of course, is that just as I explained, you have, you know what you're having at what time, and everybody's having a very similar meal. The catering department, which is found on page 294, at large properties, let's just use large property as an example with the Hyatt Regency across from the Colorado Convention Center. The catering department and the catering sales are the arms of the food and beverage department. While at smaller properties, smaller hotels, catering and sales are often handled by a salesperson, which means there's a lot more scope to their job. Also makes it a little tough for them to spend their day selling because they do a lot of servicing at the same time. So the catering and marketing plan found on page 297. This marketing plan is developed very closely following the 6 steps of the development of a property's overall marketing plan. So you have this big plan, and then it gets divided into sub-plans for catering, for the restaurants, for in-room sales, like, mini bar and other aspects that you can get revenue per available customer on what's ever available in the room, such as movies, etc. Catering department promotions, how do they promote their product? Found on page 303. They do it with print ads. I mean, it's not uncommon that during a Mother's Day brunch or Easter brunch, they'll put an ad in a newspaper to notify consumers that they're having these large catered functions. They also will have brochures and flyers that they'll make available. Maybe they'll make something that looks like you can have a catered event for a wedding as a brochure. That some hotels, especially up in the mountains here in Colorado, they do a big wedding planning business up there. In-house promotions is typical. You might find something in elevators. You might find information posted on the television, because a lot of these hotels, they'll have information about the hotel running on their TV. Direct mail, yes, believe it or not, here's an interesting thing that I used to do. People thought I was wasting time when I was in catering. So I would look in the newspaper for who got engaged, and then I would send them information about what we have in terms of wedding packages for our hotel. No, it was, I'd be reading the newspaper and actually looking for those couples recently engaged. Other food and beverage sales found in page 323 of your textbook. Refreshment breaks. Here's the odd thing about having meetings at your property. So from 8 a.m. usually until 5:30 or 6, you have this meeting that takes place in your meeting space. And you start that meeting at 8 a.m. and you usually have a coffee and Danish, bagels, juice, fruit that's out as like a deluxe breakfast or a deluxe continental breakfast for your people who are at the meeting. So they have these refreshment breaks. Come 10 o'clock, everybody wants a coffee break. And come 12 o'clock to 12:30, everybody wants their lunch. Come 3 o'clock, everybody's ready for their second coffee break. I wish I did that in my own office. I come in the morning, I don't even think about a coffee break. At 10 o'clock, I'm thinking about prepping up for my class. At 3 o'clock, I'm usually in the middle of office hours. It would be nice to have a coffee break or a tea break for me. So anymore, we don't just do coffee and Danish. We really like these theme refreshment breaks, something with popcorn. Maybe we might healthy breaks. If it's seasonal refreshments, they like certain fruits and certain veggies that would be out. And they're asking their catering departments to be very creative. Hospitality suites are also very common when you have group meetings in-house. That after the meeting and event is over, a lot of people want to go up and network in an environment that's where you're not sitting at a classroom table, but you're sitting around on soft-sided furniture and you're sipping a beverage and you're talking about how the meeting went or what your clients are doing, or you might be networking with potential clients. Sponsors of an association meeting usually will host a hospitality suite. It's one way to meet people on a more casual, in a more casual environment so that they don't feel like they're being directly sold. They're open in the evenings, usually after about the 7 o'clock hour. Although I have seen when I worked in Las Vegas that they might have them go for a really late time period. So in chapter 8, we have other food and beverage sales opportunities found on page 323 to 324. Receptions, highly common. As a matter of fact, that reception period between 5 and 7 is a great way to capture in networking, less in terms of how much you would spend on food and beverage, except you have to be careful. At that hour between 5 and 7, people are hungry, so they might really do some very serious grazing. Always understand the purpose of the reception. If it's just to break the ice, you might be serving beers and wines. You can keep better to your budgets and also pay attention to what type of food is available. If you are serving that alcohol, you got to make sure you have high protein in there so they don't, well, overdrink. Special functions, theme parties, family reunions, and wedding receptions. Oh my goodness. Turning my meeting space at a hotel into a wedding reception was sometimes tough because they were designed just for a meeting and you want to make them more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more um, elaborate. So I would hang twinkle lights with netting all around. I might have butlered service where people wore the white gloves and walked around with silver trays serving the hors d'oeuvres. Sometimes doing butler service actually gives a good value on a budget because the people aren't eating as much when somebody has to come and deliver the food to you. Other food and beverage sales, page 326. Off-premise catering. I was never a big fan of off-premise catering as a hotel catering person because my hotels were designed to do catering, and when I had to go off-premise, I didn't necessarily have the trucking or the refrigeration, and bringing my staff off of the premise was a little tough. But if people wanted it and I charged accordingly, I would do it. I could do it on the pool side, on hotel grounds. I used to do weddings outside on the grounds when I was out east. I had a lot of trees and a lot of foliage. It was very pretty. Catering in another venue, that really wasn't my stick, but like I said, there are several catering companies that specialize doing catering at maybe the Pepsi Center or Red Rocks, etc. Chapter 8, Meeting Room Types, found on page 328. I have to tell you, most ballrooms aren't really designed to be meeting rooms, but we do our best to turn them into meeting rooms. Lighting is always a big issue. Good ventilation is always a big issue. Um, Good AV in a meeting room is important, especially in today's day and age where we have so much available to us in terms of our digital audiovisual. Exhibit halls, not exactly great meeting rooms, but great for trade shows. I mean, all you have to do is go over to a Colorado Convention Center and take a look at how they set up for the home and boat show or the home and garden show or a boat show or a car show. Those places are designed massive space, very few pillars. Um, there's parking available, etc. Ballrooms for large meetings and banquets is doable. I think that the Hyatt Regency across from the Colorado Convention Center is some great ballroom space. Also, the Sheraton, which is our largest hotel here in Colorado, they have great ballroom space. Conference meetings rooms are a little different design. They are designed strictly to be a meeting space. It is not designed to be a banquet hall. I worked at a conference center. What I really loved about conference centers is that meeting room equipment was built in, like whiteboards and LCD projectors and screens. In hotel meeting space, they don't have that necessarily built in. Uh, Other factors to meeting room types, it always depends on the type of meeting that you have. We have seminars and conferences and workshops and clinics make a difference. If you get certain meetings have to have maintained in a certain size room, and the layout of it would be how it would be set up. Guest count is important. If I go over 50 people, we might require certain size screens. We might require microphones when you're presenting. And ladies and gentlemen, that really kind of finishes up our recording on the guided notes for our meeting space. If you have any questions, please feel free to email. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for joining me in the class. Signing off. Bye now.